Maryland versus Virginia is already a must-win for the Terps.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. And I'm also doing some work with InsideBlackandGold.net now, so make sure you guys check out that website over there. They do a lot of good stuff, a lot of reporting on Maryland football and basketball and some other things as well. And so make sure you guys go to InsideBlackandGold.net to check that out. There's a lot of great Maryland information. And today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is a brand new mobile game that is completely free and has no ads and is 100% playable offline. Begin your coaching legacy today. Maryland versus Virginia is already a must-win game for the Maryland Terrapins. Should we be in position where we feel like we must win a football game on Saturday against Virginia? I don't believe we should. But the way we set it up, the way that we have played, the way that we started the season, it already feels like a must-win game for the Terps. And this Virginia team's riding some momentum. They're 2-0 right now with a huge win over Wake Forest by 1 point in a really solid game. I checked out some of it. I kind of want to still watch it back, see what the Terps are kind of having to deal with, what Virginia kind of looks like. But a back and forth game, a pretty high scoring game overall, a good game where Virginia looked solid. I mean, I'm not going to say they look anything crazy, but Wake Forest also isn't anything too crazy. Their QB who we played last year, he was a sophomore now, was a freshman last year, was slinging it around against Wake Forest. But of course, Virginia's 2-0. Of course, Maryland is 1-1 after the horrible loss to Michigan State. And I keep hearing, oh, you can blame it on this guy, you can blame it on this person, you can blame it on him, you can blame it on that. At the end of the day, Maryland just didn't get it done as a team. Yes, we should have made that kick. Yes, maybe Coach Loxley could have gone for it on 4th and 1. Yes, maybe Ty Fallon should have caught a ball. Yes, maybe Billy Edwards could have made a couple more throws. Yes, maybe Coach Loxley could have had a better game plan going in. Yes, the quarterback room could have done a lot of things better. But at the end of the day, we didn't win that game. And I don't want to harp too much on it. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it today, but I think that at the end of the day, we kind of got to move on. We got to move to the next one and realize that we were not good enough against Michigan State. I thought offensively, we did a lot of good things. I thought defensively, we struggled in a lot of areas, specifically that cornerback room and that secondary didn't look good at all, which is my biggest concern. One of my biggest concerns on the team. It was like quarterback, offensive line, and corner room. And the one that has come out the most has been that cornerback room, which I'll talk about later, how I think we can fix that room and how I think we should go about it and how Coach Loxley should go about it. But I'm here to tell you guys that this is a must-win game on Saturday. One, it's a night game, which I think it kind of builds up the stake. I feel like night games just feel bigger than they actually are just because it's like that prime time kind of feel. It's late. It's under the lights. It feels like more people are able to go to those types of games because people are off work. I mean, a lot of people are off work on Saturdays anyway, but people are more free, more likely to go. Whereas a game at like 12 o'clock or 3 o'clock, people might have things to do, might have work to do. But a game at 8 o'clock, it's a little bit different. I feel like schedules are more open and a lot more people are able to come. So it's a night game at 8 o'clock, which will be a very interesting how Maryland handles that situation after coming off the loss at home against Michigan State. And that's why I think the Michigan State loss hurts a lot, is because we did it at home. If we did that on the road against Michigan State, it'd be one thing. Obviously, it wouldn't be great. But for us to lose at home against a Michigan State team that I still think that we're better than, it hurts a lot, and it puts us in position this week for it to feel like a must-win game. It feels like we gotta win this. It feels like if we start the season 1-2, you hit the panic button. You hit the panic button if the Terps start the season 1-2, and you start to say, where are the wins going to come? Especially how these weeks have gone against. I mean, UConn win. Like, what do we make of the UConn win? Like, you can't really take a lot away from that. Michigan State, especially a game where our offense didn't look bad and Billy Edwards looked decent. It's like we're losing games and Billy Edwards looks pretty solid. That is not a good look for Maryland football. So we lost to Michigan State at home. It wasn't over there in Michigan. It wasn't in East Lansing. That's not what it was. We lost at home to Michigan State. And now I'm sitting here and I'm like, there's no way you can start the season 1-2 against Virginia. And if you do, you're in trouble. And you're going to start looking at the schedule and saying, where do the wins come? Sure, we still have Indiana. Sure, we have Northwestern. But soon we're going to have to play USC, who looks really good so far. They're 11th in the country. We'll have to play Oregon, who's 9th in the country, who hasn't looked great, but still. Iowa, who lost to Iowa State, but still was a top 25 team going into the year. Penn State, we obviously know how hard it is going to be to go there. Like, you're going to start looking at the schedule and be like, there's not a ton of games on this schedule that we're going to be favored in. And for us, we just were 9.5 favorites at home against Michigan State. And now it's like, oh no. We lost to a team that we were 9.5 favorites on. And now we're going into another game on the road against a Virginia team who we're still favored against. But it's a huge game for Maryland to get the season back in track. I predicted that we would start the season. I predicted that we would start the season. What was it? 6-0? Yeah, I thought we would beat UConn. I thought we would beat Michigan State. I thought we'd beat Virginia. I thought we'd beat Villanova. I thought we'd beat Indiana, and I thought we'd beat Northwestern. And I said, there's a real possibility we drop one of those, even though we're not supposed to. And I'm really hoping that was only Michigan State. So we still have the opportunity to start the season 5-1 going into the USC game, which could make for a really cool game at home. But when you start dropping all these different games, if you drop one to Virginia on the road, if you drop one maybe to Northwestern at home or Indiana on the road, people are going to start to be like, why show up to some of these games? Why do I feel the need to go to the USC game? Our games are already not packed. Our games are already kind of sad sometimes, the amount of fan exposure that is at the game sometimes. So it's like, if we lose again to Virginia, some of that fan exposure that we want more of, some of those crowds that we want larger, some of those things might not happen and might actually start going downhill and start regressing, which is a reason why I think this game against Virginia is a must win. Fans are going to get discouraged. They're not going to feel good about it. People are going to start questioning Coach Loxley. People are going to start questioning different things. And I think that Michigan State, I still think that spread was just wrong. And I said it before the game. I was like, I don't really see the 9.5 point favorite. I just don't. Maybe more like 5 or 6, maybe a touchdown. Even that seemed like a little bit much to me. I didn't think we were that much, almost a double-digit spread better than Michigan State. I didn't see that. But you dropped that game, you lost it, and you kind of got to move on. And I'm telling you, if you start the season 1-2, people are going to start asking questions. People aren't going to like the look. It's going to be really hard for us to have another season where we get better, where we improve, where under Coach Loxley every single year, I've talked about it a lot, we've added a win total or we've added a win or stayed at the amount of wins that we've had every single year. So the wins have either gone up every single year, or in the case of last year, it stayed the same. And if you lose to Virginia, I can almost guarantee that we're not progressing this season. And a program that is starting to get better at recruiting, that is starting to bring out a top 25 class, that looks really good in these different areas, that can start to hurt. People can start to look away. People will start to decommit. And some of that progress that we have made will start to go down, and you might have to start over. So I think this week against Virginia, you really don't want to start 1-2. I'm telling you, it starts to be a ripple effect. It'll affect the people in the stands. It'll affect the team. It'll affect the recruiting. And I know Jalen Gilchrist and Malik Washington have tweeted, I'm loyal, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, yeah, that's cool to see that. But at the same time, you really never know with these guys. Like, things just happen, things change. And when you start losing momentum as a program, that those types of things go down. So I think it's really, really, really important for the program overall not to start the season 1-2 and to rebound against the Virginia Cavaliers. I think it's a must-win game for Maryland football. Maryland has to fix their secondary going into the Virginia game. I have a couple ideas of how we can do it better, and I think Coach Loxley should do some of these things. I'll talk about that after this ad from Ultimate GM and the Gametime app. Hey, Locked On Terps fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. In this amazing game and simulation, you can step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you actually imagine being the head coach of the Maryland Terrapins, from recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships? You control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? And here's what I really love about the game. You're responsible for calling offensive plays during the games. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but will shape the future and legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free and has no ads. It is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go and what you want when you want to. And of course, we have a special offer for Locked On Terps fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps inside the game, store to receive a free boost to start your program. To make sure to take advantage of this perk, as it will get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com. ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up on the Apple Store. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. Have you ever wanted to go to a game at the last minute like a Maryland Terrapins game, but finding tickets is hard? I've been there before. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Gametime has deals on tickets right at the start of an event and even an hour after it starts. It's a place to find last-minute seats and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Maryland football has got to fix this corner room before going into this game against the Virginia Cavaliers, a game that I just said was a must-win game. And I just watched Virginia kind of air it out against Wake Forest. It was definitely a upper scoring type of game where I watched their new quarterback, or not new quarterback, but their sophomore quarterback who played as a freshman, played against us as freshman, Anthony Colindria, went 33 of 43 for 357 yards, 3 touchdowns, but did turn it over with 2 interceptions. And they were able to win the game by 1 point, 31-30 against Wake Forest. And I'm not too familiar with Wake Forest's teams, but I do know that Virginia can air it out a little bit, which absolutely concerns me because that's what I think they're going to try and do. If you look at the receiving threats from last game against Wake Forest, they had a bunch of guys have really solid games. Malachi Fields, who's one of their top guys, had 11 receptions for 148 yards against Wake Forest. They have another kid, Harris, who had 7 receptions for 91 yards. They had another kid, Tyler Neville, who had 2 touchdowns and 4 receptions for 68 yards. So it's pretty obvious that they can air it out. And when I watched their quarterback, Anthony, last year, I said, he's got some things to clean up, some things to work on, but this kid's got a talented arm. Like, he can make throws. He can make throws that a lot of guys can't. And I feel concerned about that going into Saturday. And I think that's the number one way that Virginia could beat us. It's just by throwing the football all over us. But here's my thing. This is what I think the Terps have to do. I have a couple of different things. Hopefully Perry Fisher is healthier going into this game. I know he didn't play a ton in last week's game against Michigan State, but this is how I see it. We got to run less man coverage. We got to run a lot of zone. I don't know if we're a man coverage team this year. I know in the past we've had some really good man corners like Jacorian Bennett, Deontay Banks, who's a first-round pick, Tarheeb Still last year, of course. Really good man corner. But this year, I don't know if that's what we have. So I think we got to run more zone. Whether it's cover 3, whether we got to run quarters, maybe some Tampa. I don't know exactly. I'm not the coach. I'm not an expert on that type of thing, but I just think that in terms of man coverage, we're kind of getting burnt out there, and I don't love the look. And I think you gotta clean some of that up. And I think putting our guys in position to play zone coverage could be a really a fix that definitely is able to help us a lot when I think about our team overall and how we can kind of improve. I think running more zone could be the way to go. I like some of our corners in zone. I like Perry Fisher's length and his range in zone. I think that also if the young guys are in there, it'll be easier for them to play some zone. I like Jalen Husky in zone as well. I think we have some solid size in that room, but I think that we don't have the best cover guys right now. And I think that if we're going to play a couple different corners, whether that's Braden Lee, whether that's Fisher, or whoever's going to play in that Maryland room, I think that the corners play has to improve, and I think it has to get better because it was not good against Michigan State. I watched us absolutely get torched. So I think that that's one way that you have to get better. I think less man. I still think you play some man, but I think it's got to be a whole lot less, especially with those young 2 guys, Kevin Humes and Braden Lee, getting a lot of time. I think you got to play less man because those guys are early in their career. It's hard to play man coverage against some of these receivers that have played a lot. I know the Michigan State freshmen kind of burnt us, but still, it's hard to play against a Big Ten quality receiver. It's hard to play a lot of man. I think my next way to fix it, I don't know. I don't think you play the young guys very much. If you have to, because Perry Fisher isn't hurt, and they're next, it seems like Humes and Braden Lee are kind of the second string guys that are next in line to play. I thought Humes really struggled. I thought Braden struggled a little bit, was decent sometimes. I think that shy away from playing those guys. I think you keep Fisher in the game if he's healthy. I think you play Jalen Husky. They've been playing a lot of Lionel in the slot. I think you stay with that. I think that Braden and Humes are going to be really good players in the future, but I don't think they're quite there. So my thing is, let's not force them into action if we don't have to. We just watch them not play well. And I get it if Coach Loxley puts them back in, or Coach Williams gets them some time because he wants them to. You don't want those guys to transfer these days. There's so many different components to it. But all I'm saying is I watched them get absolutely torched a little bit by Michigan State. And so I'm like, if they need time, then give them time. It's fine that they're not ready. I know that our other guys weren't playing well either. Like, it's not like Jalen Husky or Perry Fisher were playing amazing ball either. So it's like, who can step up in that room? But I think playing the young guys less and letting the older guys figure it out while running more zone and less man, while still running some man. But the defensive line also has they play pretty decent. So I think that they did some good things, but they might take on another step. Because I'm telling you, Virginia's going to want to throw the football. They got a talented thrower of the football, a young guy that's going to be a good guy, and they have some talented receivers. So it's got to fix, or we're not going to beat Virginia. I'm telling you now. So I think running more zone, playing less of the young guys is a good fix, and I do think Coach Loxley could end up doing some of that. Billy Edwards just got ranked really high on PFF. I'll talk about that after this ad from FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is Google account and current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. If that's not enough, be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's double your winnings for the Sunday 9:15 pregame moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be live starting Thursday 9/12. View your account page now to learn more about your boost. So just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sports book. So Billy Edwards just got ranked really high on PFF in terms of their top 10 quarterback rankings, with their grading. So currently, Billy Edwards is actually the seventh ranked quarterback on the PFF grading system, which is really impressive, honestly, because the way they do their grading is a little bit different. It's a pretty cool thing. I won't get into it too much, but PFF's really they do a really good job. They cover the college now too. They did NFL for a while, but now they're doing both NFL and college. So it's cool to see the grading system, and he's behind some pretty cool names like a Jackson Dart, like a Cameron Ward, Hudson Carter. Purdue's up there. He's had a really good start. Miller Moss is actually behind him. Taylor Gree of Arkansas is behind him. And then Billy Edwards is at 7, rated at a 91. So Billy Edwards hasn't been the problem at all. And I'm not surprised at all that he's ranked. I lied. I'm a little surprised that he's the 7th ranked quarterback on Pro Football Focus grading system. It's not about the eye test. It's not about those different things. It's about they put in their formulas. They put in their grading system. There's like so many different things that go into it. There's like big throw rate. There's like, what is it? They call it, they do their turnovers a little bit different. Like if the turnover's not, they call it turnover worthy plays. That's what they call it. If the turnover's not on the quarterback, like a receiver drops the ball and then the quarterback or the corner picks it off, they would not count that as a turnover worthy play, but they can count a play where maybe a DB drops the pass as a turnover worthy play. They do their grading a little bit different, and it's a cool system. It's a different type of system, so it's an interesting type of different beat that we're not used to. But the fact that he's ranked 7th on PFF out of all the Power 4 quarterbacks is very impressive. Like, that's not something to just toss over our heads and be like, oh, okay. Like, no, he's playing at a top 10 PFF quarterback rating level. Like, that's pretty big. And the fact that we're 1-1 while he's doing that, and we sold a game against Michigan State, which was a pretty solid Billy Edwards game, does not make me feel good. Because what are we going to do when he doesn't play well? When he doesn't play like a top 10 quarterback on the PFF website? Then what are we going to do? Then how are we going to look? Is it just going to be we're going to get crushed? We're going to get smacked around because Billy Edwards doesn't play well and we're not playing well in other spots of our team? Is that how it's going to go down? I hope not. Or are we going to kind of pick it up? Like, I don't know what's going to happen. That's just a little bit about my concern with him being such a highly rated quarterback and us being 1-1 right now. If you told me that Billy Edwards was top 10 on PFF quarterback going into the season and the first 2 weeks, I'd say, we're 2-0 for sure. But we're not. So it's kind of like feels good, feels bad. There's a kind of different ways to approach it. I really like how he's played. I think I do want to get his legs going a little bit more. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow some. But it's definitely cool to see him in kind of that rare territory because I know he hasn't played a lot. And so a lot of these guys have been multi-year starters like Jackson Dart. He's a Heisman candidate. A lot of people consider him one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Same with Cam Ward. I don't know if you guys saw Cam Ward play on Florida, but that guy looked different. And then they have Thomas at BC. He's been a multi-year starter. Hudson Card has played a lot of football. So the fact that Billy Edwards is up with a lot of those guys is pretty cool at a 91. Now, my thing is he due for regression, or is he going to keep that up? Because obviously some of that has to do with the UConn game. If we're being honest, where we dominated UConn. That's part of the reason he's up there. But he wouldn't be up there with one really good performance and then one bad performance. It's too early on in the season. A lot of these teams haven't played a lot of guys, so there's a lot of highly rated quarterbacks. So the fact that he's in the top 10 while playing a Big Ten team is still pretty impressive. Because if you look at Ole Miss, who have they played so far? Nobody. So it doesn't surprise me that Jackson Dart's number 1. They haven't played anybody decent. They haven't played anyone good. They played what? They beat Furman 76-0 in the first week. That doesn't surprise me at all. They beat Middle Tennessee 53-2. So I hope Jackson Dart's the number 1 guy. So the fact that Billy Edwards has gone through a Michigan State team, which isn't, it was just no Bama or no Ole Miss at this point or no Georgia, but it's a solid football program. The fact that he's still in the top 10 shows you a lot. And so you can kind of take this both ways. I kind of feel both ends of the leash where I'm like, are we in trouble because Billy Edwards is going to have a really hard time keeping this up, or do I feel good and Billy Edwards is our guy clearly? Then you kind of go both ways with it. But that's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked On Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you for listening to Locked On Terps.